Hi, everybody. Hey, Rick. I decided to brave the mosquitoes and do grandmother drum outside today. Grandmother drum kind of likes being outside. I kind of like being outside. We'll see if the mosquitoes will cooperate tonight. Maybe it'll be an epic battle. We got mosquitoes buzzing around. You might hear some lawn equipment running. What else could go wrong? Or right, as it were. So, hope everyone's had a good week. It's amazing how fast they're flying by. Well, I'm so glad you could join us. Days are blending into the weeks are now blending into months. And who knows when the end is in sight. I just hope you're kind of hanging on to yourself, to the good parts of yourself. Yeah, it's time for that drum to just sort of work its magic. So when we catch a little heartbeat, that can calm us down a little bit. Remember that life does work in rhythm. Do all have that one thing in common, a beating heart. And yeah, neighborhood kids are out having some fun. But that beating heart is struggling in some places. And so I'm just taking a minute, especially to think about my friends and kind of adopted family down in Navajo land, or Denetwa, as they say. I know it's a struggle down there. Medicine isn't as easy to come by. They don't have the water. What you and I take for granted, like being able to wash our hands, is an ordeal down there. And in the years of going down there and spending time in people's homes and seeing how far water has to be carried and what kind of work it is to bring water into the homes, especially the most remote ones, you might want to take a moment and think about why it is that they don't have water. And in a lot of places, the reason they don't have water is that the aquifer has been drained as part of the coal mining operation, which is why so many folks faced forced relocation down there. So decisions that we make often have ramifications and often affect people in ways we could have never imagined, in ways that we would have never thought of when we were doing this. Sometimes those things could turn out to be good, but oftentimes they turn out to be a negative effect. I don't know if people would have been as excited about burning coal in their house if they would have known that that was eventually going to lead to the level of environmental degradation and racism, and now additional sickness. So, holding the folks down there in my heart tonight. And I hope you got a little space for them too. And I hope you have a little space for the disadvantaged people all around you, wherever you are. It's times like these when their disadvantage shows up in even greater ways. So I hope you're holding and thinking about someone who's disadvantaged. And maybe you just have a neighbor who could use a boost. Maybe you have a relative who needs a phone call. Maybe you got someone that you know that just doesn't have people checking in on them. Hope you got a little space in here for those people. So I'm going to tell you a story tonight King Arthur's court. Speaking of decisions we make, we never know how decisions will turn out. So this story dates, it's a really old story. And you may recall that King Arthur became a king at a young age, being able to pull the sword from the stone. So for the early parts of his reign, he was a relatively inexperienced king. So that's where this starts. King Arthur, young King Arthur, and his nephew, Sir Gawain, were out hunting. And in the woods, they spied a beautiful buck. I mean, just an incredible rack on this animal. Just the kind of thing you're looking for when you're hunting. Plenty of meat, a nice fur coat, great rack. But this buck didn't get to be that big without a few tricks up its sleeve. So every time they thought they might be able to pull an arrow from the quiver and put it in the bow and get a sight on this buck, he would hide behind a tree or run into some bushes. And so the game was on. King Arthur and Sir Gawain were following this buck, chasing it, getting a view of it every once in a while, and then having it disappear on them again. And at one point, the trail had gone cold, and they couldn't figure out what had happened to the animal. They were, got too far in front of them. But they kept going and came to a clearing. And amazingly enough, right out in the middle of that meadow, in that clearing, surrounded by woods, stood that buck like he didn't have a care in the world, bent down to eat some nice green grass. So Arthur, realizing that this is his chance, pulls an arrow from his quiver, fits it in the bow, pulls that bowstring back, lets it fly, bam! Perfect kill shot. That mighty buck drops in that one shot, right through the shoulder there, right to the heart. After that long chase, Gawain and Arthur were pretty excited to go get their fallen game. They go out into the middle of the meadow, and just as they get close to the animal, a great big ogre comes from the other side of the meadow, stomping, bam, 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 into the middle of the meadow, and looks at King Arthur and says, "You have trespassed on my land. And not only have you trespassed on my land, but you have killed one of my deer. The penalty for this, as we all know, is your life is forfeit. Your life is mine." And Arthur looks up at the ogre, and he knows he's right. He has indeed trespassed. He was so focused on the deer, he didn't even pay attention to where he'd gone. He certainly was out of the realm of his kingdom. He was in the ogre's place. The ogre had every right to take his land or his life, and he said, "Well, let me ask you, ogre. I'm a king, and many people are depending on me. Is there any way that we could work a bargain or work some kind of a deal that you wouldn't take my life?" And the ogre looks down, and he realizes that Arthur's kind of a young king, young for a king anyways, and he's got his young nephew with him. He says, "All right, I'm going to make you a deal, young king. You are free to go, but you must return here in 1 year, and you must answer me a very difficult riddle. And if you can do this, if you can bring me the answer to this question, I will spare your life." Arthur really has no choice, so he agrees to the deal. He says, "Okay, I'll take your challenge. What's the question?" The ogre looks down at Arthur and he says, "In 1 year, at this exact time, you will come to this exact place, and you will tell me what it is that a woman really wants." Arthur looks up and says, "That's the question?" "Yes, the question is, what does a woman really want?" Arthur's perplexed. He knows this is way more difficult than it seems. And he and Sir Gawain turn around, walk back into the woods, find their horses, and ride back to the castle. Sir Gawain says to Arthur, "We can do this. We'll just spend the rest of the time until next year. We'll go out. We'll ask every person we see What does a woman want? Certainly we're going to get the right answer eventually. So, day after day, in between all his other kingly duties, Arthur and Gawain are out asking people, what does a woman really want? Now, I know this seems a little sexist. Don't worry, it has a good end. Well, some people think it's a material question. And so they give answers like, well, diamonds are a girl's best friend, or she wants really nice jewelry, or very fine clothes, or really good shoes. A woman wants a beautiful house. One wants a fine carriage and a really nice horse. And Arthur's like, no, none of these are the right answer. Well, the woman wants, some people think the woman, these questions are emotional. So they're trying to answer the questions that way. And they say, maybe it's about love. And so the answers are, a woman wants a man who will treat her right, who will be there for her. A woman wants to fall in love and have a deep love. And others are saying things like, a woman just wants to be happy. And he feels like those are touching on the answers, but he doesn't have the answer. It's not getting there. And day after day, week after week, an entire month, 2 months, 3 months, asking every person he knows, and no one has the right answer. He just can feel he doesn't have the answer yet. Pretty soon Arthur's like, he's talking to animals. He's asking trees, what does a woman really want? And all kinds of answers come back. She wants a beautiful garden. She wants peace in the kingdom. She wants a beautiful necklace. Everyone's kind of seen it through their own lens. But he knows he just doesn't have the answer. Well, pretty close to a year goes by, and Arthur, being a man of his word, says to Sir Gawain, we have to go back and meet the ogre. Maybe he'll give me an extension, or maybe he'll take my life, but I have to go. So they ride, tracing their path from before. They were hunting that beautiful stag. And they're not too far from the big clearing, and on the path appears an old woman. And it may not be politically correct, but the only way to describe this woman was she was one of the most hideous things either one of them had ever laid eyes on. She had an enormous hunchback. She walked with a limp. She had an enormous nose with a great big wart on it that had hairs that were sticking out everywhere. The few teeth that she had were green. Her body smelled and was covered with all kinds of matted hair. The hair on her head was gray and matted. Her breath smelled like a dragon. She looks up at them. She says, "Good day, sirs." And Arthur looks down and says, "Well, actually, madam, it's not a good day." And she goes, "I know. You seek the answer to a question, and you have not found it. And you need that answer, and I can give it to you." And Arthur looks at this old woman, and he goes, "You can give me the answer to this question? You don't even know the question." She goes, "Oh, no, I know who you go to see. You go to see my brother, the ogre, and I know what question he has asked you, and I know the answer to it." And Arthur says, "Well, can you give me the answer?" And she says, "I will give you the answer, but you have to give me what I want in return." Arthur says, "Well, I don't really have much choice in the matter. What is it that I can do for you?" She says, "If I give you the right answer and spare your life, you must give me your nephew, Sir Gawain, in marriage and marry us at the castle." Arthur's like, "No way. I could never do that to my nephew. He's young. He has a promise of life in front of him. What good would it do him to marry an old woman like you?" And Sir Gawain says, "Arthur, my uncle, my king, to spare your life, I will marry this woman gladly. And I have a feeling that she also has a good heart." Arthur says, "Are you sure?" Sir Gawain says, "Yes, I'm sure." So the woman gives him the answer. I'm not going to tell you what the answer is just yet. I want you to think about it. And Arthur knows instantly, just as she speaks the word, that he does have the right answer indeed. So he tells her, "Madam, wait right here by the side of the road. If your answer is indeed correct, I will be coming back and we will pick you up on the way to your wedding. If the answer is not correct, I won't be coming back. So King Arthur rides out to the meadow, gets off his horse, walks out into the middle of the meadow, and just at the right time, here comes the ogre, stomping out of the woods like he did before. Big old smile on his face and a great big sword in his hand, ready to take Arthur's head. He looks at Arthur, he says, "So, do you have the answer to my question?" And Arthur looks up and speaks the one word that the ogre's sister has given him. And the ogre, "Ah! You must have met my sister. Oh, that witch. I'm going to tell you right now, she's cursed for life. But she has indeed given you the right answer. Your life is spared." Arthur turns around, looks at Sir Gawain, says, "Well, my life is spared. Now it's time for your wedding." So they leave the meadow, get back on their horses, ride back down the trail a ways. There they find the woman who gave them the answer. She climbs on the back of Sir Gawain's horse, and they ride back to the castle. King Arthur makes an announcement the next day that his nephew will be married. The following day, the kingdom is excited. They prepare for a royal wedding. Everyone comes out to see it. Arthur is in front of everyone, as the king. He gets to perform the ceremony. And out comes Sir Gawain, and out comes from the other side his bride, covered in a veil. But people notice right away that she has a hunchback, and that she seems to be, quite a bit older than him just by her posture and her build. When Arthur finishes his part of the ceremony and says, "You may now kiss the bride," she lifts up that veil, and a gasp goes through the crowd to see what this woman actually looks like. But Gawain, a man of his word, reaches over and kisses her. And instantly, there's an incredible transformation, and she turns into the most beautiful, perfectly paired woman that he could imagine. He couldn't imagine anyone more beautiful, with a heart shining like this, in any dream. And so now, Sir Gawain is pretty excited about this decision he's made. So the happy couple goes off to the bedroom chambers. They're ready to consummate their marriage. And his beautiful bride looks at him and says, "Sir Gawain, I have to tell you, I can't stay beautiful like this all the time. I am cursed. And here is your choice. You can have me beautiful in the daytime. When you're out in public with me, everyone will see you with your beautiful bride. But at night, I will be as you have seen me before. Or you can have me beautiful at night when we're alone and intimate. But in the daytime, I will look as you have seen me before." Sir Gawain steps back for a moment, and he looks at her, and he says, "No, this is your choice to make. You decide." She looks at him, and tears of joy start streaming down her face, and she just comes up to him and gives him an incredible hug, kisses him deeply and warmly, and says, "You have broken the spell with your answer. And just like I told King Arthur, what a woman really wants is her sovereignty. She wants to make her own choices. She wants to lead her own life. And with your answer, you gave me my sovereignty. And thus the spell is broken, and I will look like this, which is my natural state." So I started out, and that's the story of King Arthur and Sir Gawain in the woods. And I started out talking about how we don't know how decisions that we make will affect us later on. When I spend time down in Navajo land or with any of my native friends, I always hear this talk about decisions have to be made with the seventh generation down the line in mind. And when I look at what my friends down there are going through now, they're lucky that they had people who thought about them 7 generations ahead. But they're unfortunate that people who came to be in their land and space don't think 7 generations ahead. So, right now, it's our turn to think 7 generations ahead. Our turn to do what's healthiest for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, our great-great-great-grandchildren, our great-great-great-great-grandchildren, and the generation after that, 7 generations. And if our decisions take that into consideration, we'll start to heal this whole place up. And I heard some people were complaining about this idea. Oh, it must be a grand leftist conspiracy to try to do a reset and take advantage of the coronavirus and have a more progressive and equitable society. I thought, well, if that's the grand conspiracy, I'm a co-conspirator. I think now is our chance to really look at what we've done, what we're doing, and how important it would be for us to think about those future generations in every decision we make, the ones in our personal lives and in our family lives, but also on the grand scale of things. How much of this earth, how much of this air, how much of this water, how much of this land do we want to be here in the condition it needs to be in for our greats to live a good, healthy life. That heartbeat goes from generation to generation to generation. If we could just remember that, someday, someone many generations from now, who will be related to you, who will be related to me, their heart will be beating like this. And maybe they'll have a moment where they can say, I know someone who I don't know was thinking about me, or I wouldn't be here right now. Now they tell me what do they call it? Day of Great Giving. It's coming up. A day where they want to remind everyone to give out to nonprofit organizations. So, again, I'm lucky I don't have to ask you for tips or Venmo or any of that thing as a performance artist. But I would like to ask you to think about my friends down on the reservation. There's the Navajo Hopi COVID response. You can find that on Facebook. Or consider Blue Mountain Community Radio, kqbm.org. Or Resiliency Village, resiliencyvillage.org. Working to help our unsheltered brothers and sisters, especially in this time of COVID. So yeah, I got causes. Maybe you'll think about those. And Tim, yeah, if this is inspiring you to play more drum, I'm all for it. Because someone 7 generations from now is going to say, I'm glad my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa Tim played some more drums. So you guys got to let me know if you want me to keep doing this. Give a couple likes or go subscribe to the YouTube channel, make a comment or something. I like doing it, but I don't really have to go through all the setting up audiovisual stuff to just do it for myself. So if you guys are into it, if you want to like get your drum and play along too, we'll do some more of this. We'll do it again next week and the week after. But I think it's good to listen to a heartbeat. So there you go. Until next week. I'm just gonna rub a little of this. It's right here on my heart, right here to yours. Peace.